The straight line client acquisition blueprint. In this video, I'm going to show you the process of making client acquisition predictable as a B2B consultant, coach, or agency owner so that you can stop depending on referrals and actively take charge of your company's growth. This is the two-phase process that it will be required to go from networking and referral dependency and being in this feast and famine cycle of, 1 month you're making 10K, the other month nothing, and all the uncertainty and unpleasantness that comes with it. And will get you towards having a predictable, repeatable, systems-based approach, having some kind of primary action that you can take. And that that if you do enough of it, that new clients will come. As a result, you'll have a steady stream of leads, booked calls, and clients, and you'll never get below 10K a month ever again. So this is our blueprint to go from 0 to 10K a month to 20 to 30K in a matter of 3 to 6 months. And you will also, most importantly, because it's fast, you will get your first few clients using the system within 1 or 2 weeks. Now, I was railing against referrals right now, and don't get me wrong, referrals are great when they happen. The problem is that for 99% of consultants, coaches, agency owners out there, they happen too infrequently, and they sometimes come inconveniently, which means that you cannot really grow and scale a business if you don't have control over your client acquisition. On top of that, referrals often lead to operational complexity because when you depend on referrals, you often take whatever comes your way. And that means you cannot even achieve a conveyor belt delivery model, even remotely, right? You want to ideally, when a client comes in, you just want to go and take them through process 1, process 2, process 3, and then they're happy and on their merry way. But you cannot do that if every single time you create a custom suit, a wedding dress, God knows what else, right? You're not producing t-shirts off the rack. And that is not a good way to scale. So this is what we do. My name is Michael Bohannes. I'm the founder of the AlphaLead Academy. And this is what me and my team specialize in. We help B2B coaches, consultants, and agency owners build their first client acquisition systems, right? So that takes you from where you are sort of enmeshed in your network, you're getting clients here and there, and then we'll take you towards you having the first version. So it's not going to be the last one that you build. It's not going to be the most robust one ever invented, but it will be the first thing that that if you put in a certain amount of effort on one end, that predictably on the other end, clients will come out. And we've now worked with over 140 B2B consulting clients, and we have a team of 6. And I'm very proud to say that every single time when a client actually implemented our playbook and followed our process rigorously, then they always had at least 300% ROI within their first 6 months of working with us. So our systems work. You can look at our website. We have plenty of client testimonials there from clients ranging from all walks of life, from all ages, genders, and even as far as their target persona was concerned. So we've had people who are selling to solopreneurs. We have people who are selling to private equity firms. We've even had people who sell to relatively large businesses, although we don't recommend that you use our system to go and get clients beyond 500 employees. But generally, up until that point, we can serve you. And we're recently using this model. We've ourselves broken the 50K a month cash barrier. So I don't want to show screenshots of my Stripe account, but these days you just have to prove it that you know what you're talking about. So I just quickly wanted to show this. And so my story, I'll try to get it done in under 30 seconds as far as it's relevant to you. I'm a former consultant. I was at Booz Allen. I ran my own marketing agency from 2016 to 2019. And then I had this epiphany in December 2019, because until then I was fully entrenched in the belief that to sell complex B2B services, you need intros, you need a network, you need referrals. And I was completely scared out of my mind when my network dried up in sometime mid 2018. And so it was in December 2019 when for the first time I approached a complete stranger online who ended up buying from me. And he paid then and there on the sales call for a service package that I hadn't even built at that point in time. And so this is what we help our clients do, to break out of the self-imposed prison where you depend on referrals and help you reach your promised land of having a system that predictably and reliably churns out new sales calls at the pace that you want. And so in this video, I'm going to map out that journey from dependency on referrals to having a client acquisition system. And we're going to show you how we accomplish all of that without any lead magnets, without a podcast, without much content. We do a little bit of content, but without like a strong content practice, any like communities or live webinars, whatnot. Those assets tend to delay the point where you find the holy grail. What is the holy grail? Having a system of inputs where if you do that, a sales call with a stranger will come out on the other end. We have this very straight line method where we just go directly for the kill and we just approach people and we say, hey, this is what we have. Would this be interesting? And then a certain percentage of people book a call. Once you've cracked that, then all these other things like lead magnets and podcasts, and so on, those are all nice additions. I'm not denying that. Those things are great, but you shouldn't start with them. As I always say, sales before marketing. So this is why we have created this straight line approach. Now we're going to go through these two phases. Phase one is setting up the foundations. Phase two is iterating on the message until it resonates. So who is this for? As I said, B2B coaches, consultants, and agency owners. It's a given, but there's also, it's very important that you offer an objectively verifiable ROI, okay, return on investment. You ideally help your clients increase revenue or reduce cost. Or you can also have some non-monetary metrics as long as they are objectively verifiable. Like, for example, employee retention, Glassdoor ratings, all of that. Those are okay because they're all metrics that the client cares about. And even if you do not have something that is commonly accepted as a metric, you can create a KPI that consists of metrics that your client cares about. Okay, for example, we have one of our clients, they help with employee engagement, employee happiness, and so on, this kind of stuff. So what they have created is a dedicated metric where they input different factors, such as time to hire, feedback on standardized employee satisfaction surveys, then level of retention, how many people stay beyond 6 months, and all of that. You can then mesh that into a common KPI. As long as you have that, as long as there's a measurable metric, then that's great. This is what you need. If you do not have that now, don't despair. Once we are creating the offer, you will be able to create one of those things. So even if it's not obvious to you, even if it doesn't jump out at you, we can still create one. But there has to be some objectively verifiable ROI, which is why we don't, for example, work with people like life coaches or confidence coaches, because there simply is no verifiable ROI. Also because the customer lifetime value tends to be quite low. Okay, and with that said, let's get into the two phases. Phase one is the foundations. And I guarantee that you have heard this before. I'm even willing to bet you have heard variations of what's coming now. And yet 90% of people stagnate because these three things are not in place. So this is going to be really important. So pay close attention. These three things are mindset, offer, and avatar. And when you see mindset, you probably already think that I'm going to go all woo-woo on you. You have to have an abundance mindset, growth mindset. Yes, you have to, but that is not the key thing here. What I mean by mindset is a certain level of respect to the craft of sales and marketing and treating it seriously. Most consultants approach their business from a place of, I'm an expert in what I do. And that is great. This is what you need, but that is just one leg of your business. If you're lucky, you can maybe get by on referrals throughout your entire consulting career. However, most people cannot. And then you want to build a second leg, so to speak. You want to grow a second leg. And that leg is the ability to package up your offer and sell it effectively to strangers. That is not completely trivial. I mean, there is a reason why people like me exist. There's other experts in the area of client acquisition. They have their own unique flavorings and so on, but there is a level of expertise. And if you, as a B2B consultant, coach, agency owner, do not want to or don't feel the need to become remotely good at this, then probably there's a certain mindset problem. And this is the kind of mindset adjustment that I would invite you to consider and to start implementing. What kind of mindset do we need? First of all, you have to prioritize sales before marketing. You have to ask people for the business instead of just posting content. It's a huge one. And being able to sell well before you market is going to also, ironically, make you a better marketer. So first selling, then marketing. Number two is growing the second leg in-house. What do I mean by that? If you want to 2 to 10x your business, you'll have to become a decent salesperson and marketer yourself. You cannot outsource that. So many people want to just hand it over to a B2B lead gen agency, and that's fine. You maybe, if you are lucky and you land on a good one, you will add 1, 2, 3 new clients to your portfolio, but you will not have anything remotely resembling a system that you just know you can turn the crank and new clients will fall out. That does not make your business valuable. Completely outsourcing the second leg of your business does not make your business valuable. And I strongly encourage you to reject it. The next thing is pipeline thinking. You cannot be attached to any individual deal. Most people send a couple of proposals out and then biting their nails with, oh, I hope this one proposal will close. No, instead, you simply need to widen your intake funnel. You need to get more and more leads and simply calculate with laws of probabilities. If I send out 10 proposals, I'm going to win 10% of them, so on. Pipeline thinking. Okay. The next thing is huge topic, of course, accepting rejection. Many people come at it from a place of ego. They think, oh, I've been an expert for 10 years. I should not be rejected by so many people. But the fact is, no matter how good you are, even the best people in the world, 90% of their outreaches, if they do cold email, 90% fall flat. Right? No, they are getting rejected. Just like the best sports people, the best basketball owners, they make more mistakes than they are successful. Then there will be work associated with this. So no one will just hand you the keys. You need to be willing to experiment and figure out what works for you, because the truth is B2B services are usually such an idiosyncratic matter. There's your unique expertise, the avatar that you serve, what is your offer, and then also who you are personally. How trustworthy do you come across? And all of that. This is so unique for every single person is like a special unique snowflake. You have to be willing to experiment, and do not expect that somebody will just hand you the keys and say, oh, this is how you get clients for your specific business. You just test it and it immediately works. It will not. Okay. And so there will be work in iterating and understanding the nuances of what makes your business work. And then finally, a great way to think about it is from first principles. Always whenever you are tempted to say, well, this wouldn't work for me, this won't work for me. Whenever you are tempted to say, oh, this won't work for me, then you have to think from first principles, well, why should it be? I'm approaching people who sometimes have a specific problem that I can solve. And if I just approach enough of them in a good enough way, then a couple of them will want to speak to me, right? Must be possible somehow. Thinking from this first principles point of view will help you really a lot. And with that kind of mindset, if you do have these 6 boxes ticked, then you will reach the goal. Cool. All right. Then in the second circle, we need an offer. What is an offer? An offer is a promise of a dream outcome in a specific time frame with a predictable effort and sacrifice, reinforced by elements that increase the perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, I know that's quite a mouthful, and therefore I like to use Alex Hormozi's value equation as a framework and to look at it in a little bit more detail. So I mentioned dream outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement divided by time delay and effort and sacrifice. You want to ideally keep those 2 things at the bottom quite low and these 2 things at the bottom quite high. And that translates into value. And what is an offer in relation to value? Simple. An offer is value made concrete to a specific target audience. So let's look at an example. Help manufacturing companies improve their hiring and talent pipeline in 12 months time. You will have saved $100,000 on headhunter fees. Your retention will have improved by 20%, and your Glassdoor rating will have improved by 20% as well. That is arguably an interesting, good dream outcome. Several manufacturing companies would be happy to receive this outcome. Now, how can we increase the perceived likelihood of achievement? If you approach them and you've had past successes, for example, client testimonials, you offer a money-back guarantee, and you have a really well-crafted public persona, you have great content, your website is really professionally made and so on, you're well-dressed and so on, polished, then you are increasing the perceived likelihood of achievement. If you have these opposites of these things, then you are less likely to help them achieve this outcome. Time delay, for example, you promise them something to reach this goal in 12 months time, and you say, if they ask, well, how much work do we have to put in? If you tell them, well, it's going to be over the course of the year between 30 and 50 hours of executive and middle management time that you'll have to invest. Now you have turned the abstract concept of value into a specific valuable offer to a specific target audience. Okay, so that is what an offer looks like. So we need a desirable outcome. Very important here that you use the client's language. You should phrase things in their way. It should be moving a desirable KPI. This is why most good offers contain a certain metric that you will improve by a certain amount of time in a specific time period. And then finally, you want to be in a certain Goldilocks zone as far as the breadth and vagueness of the offer is concerned. So on the one hand, you could say something like, oh, I'm going to make you rich and you're going to sit on a beach and drink margaritas all day. That is just too vague. You don't really know what this is about. It's just too broad. And of course, yes, many people would want to get there, although drinking margaritas for longer than a day is probably not good for you. That is just too vague and you don't really know what this offer is about. And then on the other extreme, if you go too narrow and I want to say too small, then also you will not elicit any good reactions. Because, for example, one of our clients in the early stages when they formulated their first offer, what they wanted to do is, we're going to help you create better newsletter templates. And that's just too small, not really valuable enough. You cannot really imagine yourself charging 4 figures, multiple 4 figures for that, right? So it needs to be in this Goldilocks zone of being impactful and concrete enough while not promising the world, but also not being too small that you cannot charge enough for that. And then finally, we want to understand our avatar. Who is the person who is selling to? And not only who are they, but also what are their specific pains and problems. So the avatar exercise consists of 2 things. You have to describe who they are. Say they are the VP of HR in manufacturing companies in the US, sized from 100 to 300 people, for example. Now you have an avatar formulated, but now you have to describe their pains and problems as far as you are concerned and what your service is. And here it's super important that you distinguish between these things, pains and problems. Pain is the equivalent of a stomachache. The problem is that you might have an ulcer, and you can only go to the doctor to diagnose you, right? So you might not know what is at the bottom of it. Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't. The reason why it's so important to separate these 2 things, because you want to trigger people with their pain by formulating their pain right back at them, so that a stranger will want to take a call with you. There you need to focus on the pain point, and the problem is at the heart of the offer. Okay, so you trigger them with the pain point. That's going to be what later on we'll discuss as an angle, then what you solve and how you formulate it, how you package it and move it into a realm of a good offer. Okay, this is why it's important to distinguish these 2 things. And so you want to map out those pain points really carefully and meticulously. The more effort you'll put into this, the easier Phase 2 will then be, because you'll be iterating on different pain points and problem formulations, therefore put in a lot of effort into that. And the second reason why knowing the pains and problems is good, beyond the triggering them so that they book a call with you, is that on the call, when you're able to diagnose their problem correctly, when they tell you a couple of points about their pain points, and then you're able to correctly diagnose the problem and explain to them that this is where their pain point's coming from, they will feel understood. And nothing is as good as a sales accelerant as feeling understood. This is why we want to be very careful and specific with the pains and problems. Because what happens if you only have 2 out of those 3 in place? What if you have, for example, the mindset down and you understand the avatar well, but you do not have an offer? First of all, you're going to have poor response rate on your prospecting because you're selling yourself using input-driven language. Like, we are a group of award-winning supply chain consultants, right? Many people do that. It's not a good way to get people's attention. You also will have operational complexity because you will then start taking on clients, selling them different things, right? This is especially marketing agencies have this problem when they're very broad. Like, oh, we do SEO and PPC and we will do your LinkedIn content and so on. If you do not have a clear offer, you will have operational complexity because all of those things, PPC, SEO, and LinkedIn content, all of those have different processes. You need to have different expertises and so on. You will not be very good at it and stay mediocre by definition. And then finally, you'll also have low closing rates because you do not have a good sales script. You're selling everything to, even if it's just one avatar, but you're selling so many different things to them that it's going to be more difficult for you to close. And overall, this results in this not being scalable. So what happens when you have the offer down, you have the avatar down, but your mindset is lacking? Well, it's very simple. You will quit because you will not be willing to stomach the frustration that comes from it. You will not fully understand and appreciate that this really takes time to become good at. You will not think in terms of pipelines. You will be emotionally very invested in the outcome of any given prospect that you are approaching. And you will not be thinking from first principles. You will just conclude, oh, I guess this method doesn't work for me. And you will also balk at the amount of work that is involved. So in this case, you'll just quit. Very simple. And what happens if you have a good mindset? You have an offer, but you do not know your avatar very well. First of all, you will have poor closing rates because when on a sales call, the avatar doesn't feel understood. They tell you something about a pain point and you start talking something else because you have this preconceived notion in your mind of how they should be instead of how they are. They will not feel understood. They will not resonate with you, and therefore they will not close. You will also have operational complexity because you have an offer, you have a good mindset, but you are selling this to multiple avatars and you're not really clear about their pain points. Well, in that case, you will be serving slightly different people. Your offer will naturally have to consist of different elements, the things you do for your clients or the way how you advise them. But because the avatars are going to be so diverse, you're going to have to focus on very different things with one person versus another. That further hurts your scalability because operationally it's going to get very complicated. And this is why it's so important to have all these 3 elements of the foundations in place. And if you have them all in place, then this is of course where the Holy Grail comes in. Now we are ready to actually go on the quest for the Holy Grail. Phase 2, validation. Remember, the goal is to find the Holy Grail, which is booking sales call with strangers predictably and consistently. We do this by launching fast outreach experiments. So we will be approaching people using cold email or LinkedIn, DMs, wherever they tend to be. Could be Facebook, could be Instagram, wherever, but you will approach them and try to see if you can book a call with them that way. There's only 2 ways how you can proactively, by doing something, book calls. And that is interrupting them and sending them a cold email or a DM, or you could be running ads. Running ads is far more complex. Therefore, we start with cold approaches, cold outreach. Running ads and webinar funnels is way more complex. I recommend that you don't start with it. If you have not converted a stranger into a client, you want to do this kind of cold outreach first. And by the way, before we continue with phase 2, if you're finding this useful, these slides will be available for download somewhere around the video. There's going to be a link where you can just download it. No email opt-in required. Okay, so let's get into validation. I'm sure you've heard of the build, measure, learn cycle. It comes from Eric Ries and his book, The Lean Startup. You want to ideally throw something into the world, get the market's reaction to it, learn from it, and then start this cycle again. And the most important factor in this context, in this exercise, is speed. You want to be able to get through a build, measure, learn cycle really, really quickly. And this is why some of those other methods that I mentioned on early on, content, podcasts, free webinars, and lead magnets and email funnels and whatnot, they are very slow. Let's say you want to start a podcast and you want to get clients in this way. You can easily take you 6 months, even a year before you see your first client from it. And you don't really know if it's going to lead to something until you have booked an actual sales call with someone. And that alone can be weeks, if not months, in the future. However, the straight line method, where you just approach people and say, hey, I have this offer. Is it good enough that you, although you are a stranger to me, although I'm a stranger to you, are willing to at least take a call to explore how we could help you. That is a much more faster approach, and you will go through these build, measure, learn cycles much, much faster. So I say we should do a build, measure, learn cycle in a matter of 1 to 2 weeks. For simplicity's sake, let's settle with 2 weeks. Okay. So in 2 weeks, we will approach 20 to 200 people, depending on how much we personalize the message to, and send them a quality outreach cadence on cold email and or one social network where they are active. And we call this cycle, this 2-week test cycle, a sprint. And we create different combinations of avatar, offer, and angle. So we start with one avatar. Yes, you could theoretically also make variations with another avatar, but I would surmise that for like at least 6 months, if you know you've had already clients in this space, or you know other people who have clients in this space, if you choose one specific niche, you know that you can figure it out. So that's why I've grayed out the avatar too. Generally, we will stick with only one avatar. And then you can come up with 3 different offers. For example, in my world, I could come up with a done for you offer. We will do B2B lead gen for you. We will create LinkedIn content for you. I know all of these things, so I could offer it. Our current offer looks slightly different. Okay, so there's different offers, and then there's many different angles that we can choose based on what people experience as a pain point. This is why I said before, collecting these pain points is so important so that you have different angles. Well, and then a cycle of 2 weeks consists of taking these 3, avatar 1, offer 1, angle 1, and running it past your market, contacting them. And by the way, if you're thinking, how do I get emails? Super easy. Okay, there's tools like Everboot, there's Apollo. You can easily get emails of a target audience. Okay, so you just do this avatar, offer, angle combination and see if it works. What do I mean by if it works? If you book at least 1 sales call from this 1 outreach sprint. If you don't book at least 1 sales call with a qualified person, of course, then you try angle 2. Angles are easier to vary. Angles are effectively just 1 or 2 sentences that trigger people into, oh yeah, this guy's really got my pain point right. Okay. And then we do this. Then we run the next 2-week sprint with avatar 1, offer 1, but angle 2 and angle 3. And then we can vary it again. We try a different offer, angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and so on. So this is what our first sprint looks like. It's our first avatar, offer, angle combo. While we are doing this, we are already assuming it's going to fail. Again, think like a marketer, okay? Have the right mindset. Assume the first campaign is going to fail. Assume the first 5, even 10 campaigns are going to fail. Probably they won't, but it's good if you are ready for this. So you prepare the next sprint already. And then all the while the sprint is running, you also publish content so that if people are looking you up, they see that you're an expert, they see that you know what you're talking about. This is why we do favor content, although I was a bit negative on it before, because you do want to show some validation to them that this is indeed a running business and the person actually cares and is passionate about their subject. So if you are in KPI from that first sprint, meaning you have at least 1 quality sales call booked, in that case, we just refine the avatar, offer, angle combination 1, try to make it better, but we stick with what we have. We see what we can do so that we improve the performance. And if it does not, see what we can do to improve the performance. Now, if we are not in KPI, then we try this other avatar, offer, angle combination. And also we conduct qualitative feedback with at least 5 people from the previous sprint, or maybe with people who know us, people who are friendly to us, so that we can validate, why did this sprint not resonate, you think? Why did this avatar, offer, angle combo not resonate? This qualitative feedback will then inform our future sprints, and so on we go until we hit the goal. Because remember, you think from first principles, it must be possible somehow, and you just try until you find that holy grail, okay? And that is the process. From dependency to referrals, you fix your foundations and then you validate, because once you have that, now that you have the messaging down, the world is going to be on a silver platter in front of you. You can do cold email at scale. You can do ads. You know what triggers enough people to take action, a high enough percentage of people to take action. You can now effectively build the business as big as you want to. And so the sky's the limit, because now you know how to book sales call with strangers, and there's a lot of strangers in the world. So what have we learned? By now, you know that there are 3 crucial components to lay your foundations. It's you got to have a mindset of a salesperson and marketer. You don't need to be the best in the world at it, but you need to adopt some of those core beliefs that a salesperson and marketer has in order to be successful, even if your expertise lies in something completely different. You have to have an offer, like a statement, a value statement made concrete to a specific target persona. Make it concrete, make it KPI based. This is why, by the way, in the beginning, we said that you have to have an ROI offer, right? Your service needs to provide a certain ROI. This is how we have to craft our offer. And then we need to know the target persona. We need to understand their pain points in great level of detail. We talk to them, we understand what are the pain points, and we try to diagnose the problems, and we learn from every iteration of speaking to a target persona. You now also know that in phase 2, with the right foundation set, we iterate the winning message on our market and vary it until we unlock the Holy Grail. And right now you may be wondering, well, I have a very unique offer. Is this going to work for me? Or I'm at a very early stage in my business. I'm not sure about my offer or my avatar. And would prospects in my industry respond to cold outreaches even? I think they would not. If you say I have so many different avatars with so many different pain points, I cannot have just one offer. Or you say, I'm not sure I can structure an offer in the right way, how you mentioned it. Or all of this sounds like it's a lot of work. Is there no way you can get somebody else to do this for me? Right? And so if you're wondering that, then instead of me recording a long video, I just suggest we talk about it, right? So use the link below to book a call. On the call, we will learn about your business and identify what are your current bottlenecks. Like, where in this framework do we believe that you're currently stuck and what you need to do to break out? After 20 minutes, we'll tell you what we would do if we were in your shoes and we wanted to hit your target, right? And that's regardless if you just want to get a business off the ground, you want to get your first 10K a month, or you want to scale to 50K. And we will tell you all of that based on our experience of going from depending on referrals ourselves to now 50K a month in revenue and having served 140 B2B service providers. And at that point, once we tell you what we would do, you can choose whether you want to implement it with us, or you can say no thanks and be on your way. Regardless, given that we have this track record, it's going to be very useful for you to get our take. So I look forward to hearing from you and looking forward to seeing that call.